close your eyes for a moment and think of a memory. Any memory at all. Maybe it's the smell of rain on a summer afternoon, or the sound of laughter at a table long ago. Maybe it's a face, a place, a feeling you thought you'd forgotten. That memory, quiet and familiar, exists because of something remarkable happening inside your brain right now. Billions of tiny connections, woven together like threads in a tapestry, holding that moment in place. Welcome to the memory landscape, a vast and gentle territory that lives inside you, where every experience you've ever had leaves its mark. Tonight, we're going to walk through this landscape together, slowly, carefully, with no rush at all. We'll explore how your brain creates memories, how it stores them, and how it finds them again when you need them. We'll visit the different regions of this inner world, each one holding a different kind of memory. And if you fall asleep along the way, that's exactly as it should be. Because sleep itself, as we'll discover, is one of the most important guardians of memory. So settle in, let your breathing slow, and know that every memory you hold, even the ones that have faded, is part of the quiet architecture of who you are. Think of memory not as a video camera, recording every moment exactly as it happened. That's not how it works. Instead, your brain is more like an artist. It takes pieces of an experience, scattered impressions, sensations, emotions, and weaves them into a pattern. Every time you remember something, you're not playing back a recording. You're rebuilding it, reconstructing it from fragments. Some of those fragments are visual, the way light fell through a window. Some are sounds, a voice, a song, the rustle of leaves. Some are feelings, the warmth of sun on your skin, or the quiet comfort of being understood. Your brain gathers these pieces and puts them back together each time you recall. And here's the beautiful part. Each time you remember, you're also subtly changing the memory. Not in a way that makes it false, but in a way that makes it living. Memories are not fossils. They're growing things. At the most fundamental level, a memory is a pattern of connections between brain cells, neurons. The cells that make up your brain communicate with each other at tiny junctions called synapses. When you experience something new, certain groups of neurons fire together. And when neurons fire together, the connections between them strengthen. There's an old saying in neuroscience: neurons that fire together, wire together. This strengthening of connections, this wiring, is what a memory is made of. Imagine a quiet meadow covered in tall grass. The first time you walk across it, you leave barely a trace, but walk the same path again and again, and eventually a trail forms. That trail is easier to follow each time. It's visible, familiar. Memories work the same way. The more you recall something, the stronger and clearer that neural path becomes. And just like a trail through grass, if you stop walking it, it begins to fade. This is not a failure. It's simply the way the landscape changes. Every memory begins with 3 stages, 3 quiet steps that transform a fleeting moment into something your brain can hold. First, there is encoding, then storage, and finally, retrieval. Let's walk through each one slowly. Encoding is the beginning. It's the process of turning an experience into a form your brain can store. Think of it as translating a moment into the language of neurons, a pattern of electrical signals, chemical messages, synaptic connections. But not every experience gets encoded. Your brain is selective. It has to be. Every second, your senses are flooded with information. The hum of a distant car, the texture of fabric against your skin, the flicker of light on a wall. Most of this, your brain lets go. It filters out what isn't important, what doesn't need to be remembered. What makes something important enough to encode? Attention is the first key. When you pay attention to something, you're telling your brain, this matters. Attention acts like a spotlight. It illuminates certain details while leaving others in shadow. The more deeply you attend to something, the more richly it gets encoded. This is why you remember conversations where you were truly listening, but forget ones where your mind wandered. Meaning also matters. When something connects to what you already know, or touches something you care about, it encodes more easily. Your brain is always looking for patterns, for connections, for stories. A random string of numbers is hard to remember. But if those numbers are a birthday or an address that meant something to you, they stick. Emotion is another powerful force in encoding. Experiences that stir you, that make you feel something, are encoded more vividly. This is because emotion activates certain brain regions, like the amygdala, which work closely with the memory system. They tag an experience as significant, worth keeping. Even the context of an experience gets encoded alongside the content. Where you were, what time of day it was, who was there, what you were feeling. All of this, woven together, becomes part of the memory's fabric. And so the moment is translated, turned into a quiet pattern of neural activity, ready for the next stage. Storage is where the memory settles, where it becomes part of the landscape. But storage is not passive. It's an active process, a transformation. When a memory is first encoded, it's fragile, like wet paint on canvas. It can be smudged, disrupted, lost. Over time, the brain works to stabilize it. This process is called consolidation. Consolidation happens gradually, over hours, days, even weeks, and much of it happens while you sleep. During sleep, especially during deep, slow-wave sleep and REM sleep, your brain replays the day's experiences, not consciously, but quietly, in the background. Neurons fire in the same patterns they fired during the day, strengthening the connections, weaving the memory more deeply into the network. It's like the brain is practicing, rehearsing the memory, so it won't be forgotten. This is why sleep is so important for learning, why students who sleep after studying remember more than those who stay awake. Sleep is the quiet gardener, tending the memory landscape through the night. Retrieval is the third stage, the moment when a memory, stored somewhere in the vast network of your brain, is called back into awareness. Think of retrieval as a search. Your brain is looking for the neural pattern that corresponds to what you're trying to remember. Sometimes the search is effortless. Someone asks your name, and the answer is instant. Other times, you know the memory is there, but you can't quite reach it. It's on the tip of your tongue, just out of reach. Retrieval is helped by cues. These are signals, clues that guide your brain toward the memory. A cue might be a word, a smell, a sound, a place, anything that was part of the original encoding. This is why hearing an old song can suddenly bring back a flood of memories from a particular time in your life. The music was encoded as part of the context, and when you hear it again, it acts as a key, unlocking the memory. Sometimes retrieval changes the memory slightly, because each time you recall something, you're rebuilding it, and that rebuilding is influenced by your current state, your mood, your beliefs, what you've learned since. This doesn't make your memories unreliable in a troubling way. It makes them alive, responsive, part of an ongoing story. Now, let's turn our attention to the different kinds of memory your brain holds, because not all memories are the same. Some are brief, fleeting, like ripples on water. Others are vast and enduring, like carved stone. We'll start with the most temporary kind, short-term memory. Short-term memory is your brain's scratch pad. It holds information for just a few seconds, maybe up to half a minute. This is the memory you use when someone tells you a phone number, and you repeat it to yourself until you can write it down. Or when you glance at a clock and remember the time just long enough to know you're not late. Short-term memory is limited. Most people can hold about 7 pieces of information at once, give or take a couple. This is why remembering a long string of numbers or letters feels difficult. There's only so much room on the scratch pad. And if you don't do anything with that information, if you don't repeat it or think about it or write it down, it fades quickly, quietly. Short-term memory is not meant to last. It's meant to hold things just long enough for you to decide whether they're worth keeping. Closely related to short-term memory is something called working memory. And this is where things get a little more active. Working memory is not just about holding information. It's about using it, manipulating it, transforming it. When you do mental math, adding numbers in your head, you're using working memory. When you follow a conversation, holding earlier sentences in mind while listening to new ones, that's working memory too. Working memory is like a mental workspace, a place where your brain can juggle ideas, compare them, rearrange them. It's essential for reasoning, for problem solving, for understanding. Without working memory, you couldn't follow the thread of a story or plan what to say next in a conversation. But like short-term memory, working memory is limited. It can only hold a few things at once, and it requires effort. When you're tired, or distracted, or overwhelmed, working memory suffers. This is why it's harder to concentrate when you're exhausted. Why complex tasks feel impossible at the end of a long day. Your mental workspace has only so much energy. And when that energy runs low, the scratch pad starts to blur. But here's the thing. Short-term memory and working memory are just the beginning. They're the front door, the entryway to something much larger. Because beyond them lies the vast archive of long-term memory. This is where memories can last, not for seconds, but for a lifetime. And it's here that we'll spend most of our time tonight. So take a breath. Let your shoulders drop. Let yourself settle a little deeper. We're about to step through the doorway, into the deep archive, where your oldest memories live, where everything you've learned, everything you've lived, is quietly held, and we'll walk through it slowly as you need, with no rush at all. Long-term memory is where your life is stored, not as a single file or a neat chronological list, but as a vast, interconnected web of knowledge and experience. It holds everything from the face of someone you loved, to the word for sky, to the way your fingers know how to tie a knot. And unlike short-term memory, which fades in seconds, long-term memory can endure for decades. Some memories stay with you your entire life, sharp and clear, or soft and impressionistic, but present. Long-term memory has no known limit. Your brain doesn't run out of space the way a hard drive does. Instead, it keeps finding new ways to organize, to connect, to integrate what you know. The more you learn, the more connections you build. The richer the landscape becomes. But getting a memory from short-term storage into long-term storage, that takes work. It requires consolidation, that quiet process we talked about earlier. Consolidation is especially active during sleep. While you rest, your brain is busy. It reviews the patterns from the day, strengthens the connections that matter, lets go of the ones that don't. During deep, slow-wave sleep, your brain replays experiences. Neurons fire in the same sequences they fired when the experience first happened. This replay strengthens the synapses, the connections between cells. It weaves the memory deeper into the network. During REM sleep, when you dream, something equally important happens. Your brain integrates new memories with old ones. It finds connections you might not have noticed while awake. It builds associations, links ideas, creates new understanding. This is why sleep is not just rest. It's a form of learning, a quiet rehearsal that happens in the dark. Without sleep, memories remain fragile. They don't consolidate properly. They slip away. This is one of the reasons why a good night's sleep after studying or after an important experience helps you remember it better. Your brain needs that time, that stillness, to do its work. Now let's explore the different territories within long-term memory, because this vast archive is not a single space. It's more like a landscape with different regions, each holding a different kind of knowing, and each region works in its own way. The first region we'll visit is called Episodic Memory. This is the memory of your personal experiences. Episodic memory is where you keep the stories of your life. The time you walked alone by the ocean at sunset, your 10th birthday party, the first day at a new school, a quiet conversation on a winter afternoon. These memories are called episodic because they're like episodes, specific moments in time. They have a when and a where. When you remember an episodic memory, you don't just know that something happened. You can mentally travel back to it. You can see the light, hear the sounds, feel what you felt. Neuroscientists sometimes call this mental time travel, because when you remember, you're not just retrieving information, you're reliving a moment. Episodic memories are often vivid, especially if they were emotionally significant. You might remember your first day of college in great detail, but barely recall what you had for lunch last Tuesday. This is natural. Your brain prioritizes what mattered. Episodic memory is deeply personal. No one else has your exact episodic memories. They're yours alone, and they form the backbone of your autobiography, the story you tell about who you are, where you've been, what shaped you. But episodic memory is not perfect. It's not a recording. Each time you recall an episodic memory, you reconstruct it, and that reconstruction can shift. Details might blur or change or merge with other memories. You might remember a room as larger than it was, or a day as sunnier. This isn't a flaw. It's just the nature of how memory works. Your brain is trying to capture the essence of an experience, the meaning, the feeling, not every tiny detail. And over time, as you revisit a memory, it becomes less about the original moment and more about the story you've built around it. But that story still matters. It's still true in its own way. The second region of long-term memory is called semantic memory. This is your memory for facts, concepts, knowledge about the world. Semantic memory holds things like Paris is the capital of France. Water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. A robin is a type of bird. Unlike episodic memory, semantic memory doesn't have a personal timestamp. You know that the Earth orbits the Sun, but you probably don't remember the specific moment you learned it. Semantic memory is more abstract. It's knowledge without context. You know what a tree is? Not because you remember every tree you've ever seen, but because your brain has built a general concept of treeness. Tall, wooden, leaves or needles, roots in the ground. Semantic memory is constantly growing. Every time you learn a new word, a new idea, a new piece of information, you're adding to this vast web of knowledge. And the beautiful thing is, semantic memories connect to each other. Your brain organizes them into networks. When you think of the word apple, your brain activates related concepts automatically. Fruit, red, sweet, orchard. This is why one thought leads to another. Why ideas seem to flow. Semantic memory can last a lifetime. You probably still remember facts you learned in elementary school. The names of colors, how to count, the difference between a cat and a dog. These things feel effortless now, automatic, but once they were new. Semantic memory is how you understand language, how you navigate the world, how you make sense of new experiences by connecting them to what you already know. It's quiet, reliable, always there when you need it. The third region is called procedural memory, and this one is different. Procedural memory is the memory of how to do things, skills, habits, movements. It's how you remember how to ride a bike, how to tie your shoes, how to type on a keyboard. These are things you do without thinking. When you first learned to ride a bike, it took all your attention. You had to think about balance, about pedaling, about steering. But after enough practice, it became automatic. The movements got encoded into procedural memory. And now, you can ride a bike without consciously thinking about it. Your body just knows. Procedural memory is stored differently than episodic or semantic memory. It relies heavily on deeper brain structures, like the basal ganglia and the cerebellum. These regions specialize in coordinating movement, in learning patterns of action. They work quietly, beneath conscious awareness. Procedural memories are incredibly durable. Even if you haven't ridden a bike in years, the skill is still there. You might be a little wobbly at first, but the memory comes back quickly. This is because procedural memory is encoded through repetition, through practice. Every time you perform an action, the neural pathways get stronger, smoother, more efficient. Think of a musician playing scales. At first, each note requires thought, but after thousands of repetitions, the fingers move on their own. The music flows. That's procedural memory at work. Procedural memory is also how habits form. When you do the same thing in the same context over and over, your brain creates an automatic routine. Brushing your teeth before bed, reaching for your phone when you wake up, taking the same route to work every day. These actions require almost no effort. They're wired in. Procedural memory frees up your conscious mind, so you don't have to think about every little movement, every routine task. Your brain can focus on what's new, what's unexpected, what requires attention. So now we've walked through 3 territories: episodic memory, the personal stories of your life; semantic memory, the facts and concepts you know; procedural memory, the skills and habits your body remembers. All of them live in long-term storage. All of them work together to make you who you are. But there's one more structure we need to visit. A small, curved region deep in the brain. A structure so essential to memory that without it, new long-term memories simply cannot form. It's called the hippocampus. The hippocampus sits deep inside the temporal lobe, one on each side of your brain. It's shaped a bit like a seahorse, which is where its name comes from. Hippocampus is Greek for seahorse. Small as it is, the hippocampus is the memory system's master librarian. It doesn't store memories long-term, but it's essential for creating them. When you experience something new, sensory information flows into your brain from all directions. Sights from the visual cortex, sounds from the auditory cortex, smells, textures, tastes. The hippocampus receives all of this and binds it together. It creates a unified representation of the experience. Without the hippocampus, these pieces would remain scattered, disconnected, unfindable. The hippocampus is especially important for episodic memory. Those personal, contextual memories we talked about earlier. When you remember where you parked your car this morning, that's the hippocampus at work. When you recall what you did last weekend, the hippocampus helps retrieve it. But here's the remarkable part. Over time, memories become less dependent on the hippocampus. When a memory is new, the hippocampus holds it tightly. But as consolidation happens, especially during sleep, the memory gets transferred. Gradually, it becomes distributed across the cortex, the outer layers of the brain. The connections between cortical areas strengthen, and the memory can exist independently, without constant hippocampal support. This process can take weeks, months, even years. Old memories from childhood, from decades ago, are often stored mostly in the cortex. This is why people with damage to the hippocampus often lose the ability to form new memories. but can still recall things from long ago. The old memories have already moved. They're safe, woven into the wider network. The hippocampus is also involved in something called pattern separation. This is the ability to tell similar experiences apart. Imagine you park in the same parking garage every day, but each day you park in a slightly different spot. Your hippocampus helps you remember which spot is today's and not confuse it with yesterday's. It keeps the details distinct. Without that ability, memories would blur together. You'd lose the specificity that makes each memory unique. The hippocampus is also essential for spatial memory. Your sense of where you are, how to navigate. Studies of London taxi drivers, who spend years learning the city's complex streets, have shown that their hippocampi actually grow. The region enlarges in response to the intense spatial learning. Your brain is adaptable, plastic. It changes with use. So the hippocampus is not just a passive storage site. It's an active organizer, a coordinator, a bridge between the fleeting present and the enduring past. And every night, while you sleep, it quietly rehearses the day's experiences, weaving them into the fabric of who you are. Take a slow breath. Let yourself sink a little deeper into rest. We've wandered through the deep archive now. We've seen how memories are sorted, how they're stored, how the hippocampus holds them gently before letting them settle into the wider landscape. And now we're going to explore something equally important: the role of emotion in memory. Because not all memories carry the same weight. Some shine brighter than others. Some are etched more deeply. And emotion is often the reason why. Emotion and memory are woven together, inseparable. Think back to your most vivid memories. Chances are they carry feeling. The joy of a celebration, the quiet peace of a perfect afternoon, the warmth of being loved. Emotional experiences tend to be remembered more clearly, more completely, than neutral ones. This is not an accident. It's by design. Your brain has evolved to prioritize emotionally significant events, because those are the events that matter most for survival, for learning, for understanding the world. The structure most responsible for this emotional tagging is the amygdala, a small almond-shaped region deep in the brain, sitting close to the hippocampus. The amygdala is involved in processing emotions, especially strong ones. When you feel something intensely, the amygdala activates. And when it activates, it sends signals that say, "This matters. Pay attention." Remember this. The amygdala works closely with the hippocampus during encoding. Together, they strengthen the memory. Emotional arousal, whether positive or challenging, triggers the release of certain neurochemicals: adrenaline, cortisol. These chemicals enhance consolidation. They make the synaptic connections stronger, more durable. This is why you might remember your first day of school, or a surprise party, or a moment of unexpected kindness with such clarity. The emotion amplified the encoding. But emotion doesn't just make memories stronger. It also shapes what you remember. When you're emotional, your attention narrows. You focus on the central details, the most important elements. But peripheral details, the background, the context, may fade. This is called the emotional narrowing effect. You remember the face of someone you were speaking to, but not what was on the wall behind them. You remember the words that moved you, but not what you were wearing that day. Your brain prioritizes the core of the experience and lets the rest blur. This is not a flaw. It's efficient. It helps you remember what truly mattered. Emotion also affects how memories feel when you recall them. Emotional memories often come with a sense of vividness, of reliving. When you remember a joyful moment, you might feel a faint echo of that joy. When you recall a tender moment, the tenderness returns. This is because the brain regions involved in feeling emotion and in remembering emotion overlap. The amygdala activates during both the original experience and the retrieval. So in a way, remembering an emotional moment is a little like feeling it again. Not as intensely, but it's there. This can be comforting. It lets you revisit moments of happiness, of connection, of peace. It can also be difficult, because challenging emotions can be re-experienced too. But over time, with distance, even difficult memories can soften. The emotional intensity fades. What remains is the memory itself. A little quieter now, a little easier to hold. It's worth noting that not all emotional memories are accurate. Sometimes the strength of the emotion makes us feel certain of the details. But confidence and accuracy are not the same thing. Even vivid memories can shift over time. This is because every time you recall a memory, you're reconstructing it. And reconstruction is influenced by your current state, your beliefs, what you've learned since. So an emotional memory might feel crystal clear, but it's still a living thing, still subject to change. And that's okay. The essence is still there. The meaning, the feeling. Your brain is less concerned with perfect recall and more concerned with keeping what matters. Now let's turn to something that might seem like the opposite of remembering. Forgetting. Most people think of forgetting as a failure, a sign that something is wrong. But forgetting is not a flaw. It's a feature, an essential part of how memory works. Your brain is not designed to remember everything. That would be overwhelming. Imagine if you remembered every conversation you'd ever had, every meal you'd ever eaten, every moment of every day. You'd be buried under an avalanche of detail. Instead, your brain is selective. It keeps what's useful, what's meaningful, what might matter in the future, and it lets go of the rest. Forgetting clears space. It makes room for new learning. It prevents your memory landscape from becoming cluttered, overgrown, impossible to navigate. Think of it as pruning a garden. You remove what's no longer needed, so the important things can flourish. There are different reasons why forgetting happens. Sometimes it's simply decay. If a memory is never used, never recalled, the synaptic connections gradually weaken. The neural pathway fades, like a trail through grass that no one walks anymore. This is natural. The brain doesn't waste energy maintaining connections that aren't being used. Other times, forgetting happens because of interference. New memories can interfere with old ones. Old memories can interfere with new ones. If you've lived in many different houses, you might occasionally forget which address belongs to which period of your life. the memories overlap. They compete for the same mental space. This is especially common with similar experiences. If you've attended dozens of staff meetings, they might blur together. Your brain generalizes. It keeps the pattern, the gist. But let's go of the specifics of each individual meeting. And that's efficient, because the specifics often don't matter. Sometimes forgetting is retrieval failure. The memory is still there, stored somewhere in the network, but you can't access it. This is the tip of the tongue phenomenon. You know something. You can feel it hovering just out of reach. But the retrieval cue you need, the key that unlocks the memory, isn't presenting itself. Often, the memory will come back later, when you're not trying so hard. This is because retrieval works better when you're relaxed. When you stop forcing it, the brain can search more freely. Forgetting can also be adaptive in deeper ways. Your brain sometimes lets go of details that are no longer relevant, so you can focus on what's current. If you've learned a new phone number, your brain might gradually release the old one. You don't need both. This kind of forgetting helps you stay flexible, adaptive, ready to update your understanding as the world changes. There's even research suggesting that forgetting supports creativity. When you let go of rigid details, your mind becomes freer to make new connections, to see patterns you might have missed, to think in new ways. So forgetting is not the enemy of memory. It's memory's partner. Together, they shape a landscape that's both stable and flexible, reliable but not rigid. A place where what matters most stays and what doesn't quietly slips away. Now let's talk about how memories come back, how your brain finds them when you need them. This process is called retrieval, and it's guided by something called retrieval cues. A retrieval cue is any stimulus that helps trigger a memory. It can be almost anything: a word, a smell, a sound, a place, a time of year. The key is that the cue was part of the original experience. It was encoded along with the memory. When you encounter that cue again, your brain recognizes it, and it uses it as a pathway back to the memory. This is why certain smells are so powerful. Smell is processed by brain regions very close to the hippocampus and amygdala. So a scent, even a faint one, can instantly bring back a flood of memories. The smell of pine might take you back to a childhood Christmas. The scent of rain on pavement might recall a particular summer. The connection is direct, immediate. Music works the same way. Hearing a song you listened to years ago can transport you back to that time. Suddenly, you're remembering where you were, who you were with, how you felt. The music acts as a key, unlocking a door you didn't even know was there. Context is another powerful cue. Returning to a place you haven't visited in years can bring back memories you thought you'd forgotten. Walking through your old neighborhood, visiting a house where you used to live, standing in a room that once held significance. The physical environment triggers the memories associated with it. This is called context-dependent memory. Your brain encoded the setting as part of the experience. And when you return to that setting, the memory is easier to access. There's also something called state-dependent memory. This means that memories are easier to recall when you're in the same mental or physical state as when they were formed. If you learned something while calm and rested, it's easier to recall when you're calm and rested again. If you studied for a test while drinking coffee, having coffee before the test might help retrieval. The internal state becomes part of the cue. This is also why certain moods can bring back memories from times when you felt the same way. Feeling nostalgic might call up memories from long ago. Feeling peaceful might bring back other peaceful moments. Your emotional state acts as a filter, guiding which memories surface. Sometimes retrieval is intentional. You actively search for a memory. What was the name of that restaurant we went to last year? Your brain starts searching, following associations, checking different pathways. Other times, retrieval is spontaneous. You're not looking for a memory, but it arrives anyway. Triggered by something in your environment, or by a stray thought, or by nothing you can name. These spontaneous memories, called involuntary memories, can be surprisingly vivid. They arrive unbidden, complete, whole. And often they carry a sense of emotion, of presence, as if the past has quietly stepped into the present. This happens because your brain is always active, always making connections. Even when you're not consciously trying to remember, the network is alive. Associations are forming. Memories are being gently touched and held. Retrieval is not perfect. Sometimes you retrieve a memory, but it's incomplete. You remember part of a conversation, but not how it ended. You remember a face, but not the name. This is normal. Memory is reconstructive, not reproductive. You're piecing together fragments, and sometimes, not all the pieces are available. But even incomplete memories have value. They still carry meaning. They still connect you to your past. And the act of retrieving a memory, even imperfectly, strengthens it. Every time you recall something, you're reinforcing the neural pathway, making it a little easier to find next time. This is why retelling stories helps you remember them, why revisiting memories keeps them alive. Each retrieval is a kind of practice, a gentle strengthening. So when a memory comes to you, welcome it, let it arrive, and know that in the act of remembering, you're also preserving. Take a slow breath. Let your body settle. We've walked through the living landscape now. We've seen how emotion shapes memory, how forgetting serves a purpose, how retrieval cues guide us back to moments we thought were lost. And now we're going to explore something even more intimate: the relationship between memory and identity. Because the memories you hold are not just information. They are the story of who you are. Who are you? It seems like a simple question, but the answer is built from memory. Your sense of self, your identity, is not something fixed and permanent. It's a story you tell. A story woven from thousands of memories, moments you've lived, choices you've made, people you've known, experiences that shaped you. Without memory, there would be no continuous sense of self, no thread connecting who you were as a child to who you are now. Memory is what allows you to say, "This is my life. These are my experiences. This is where I come from." Your autobiographical memory, the collection of personal experiences stored over your lifetime, forms the foundation of your identity. It's the inner narrative that makes you, you. Think about the stories you tell about yourself. The first time you did something that mattered. A turning point. A moment of realization. These memories are more than just facts. They're meaning. They help you understand who you are, what you value, what you've learned. They give your life coherence. Even memories that are painful or difficult contribute to your sense of self. They're part of the journey, part of what taught you resilience, compassion, strength. You don't have to carry them with heaviness, but they're there, quietly woven into the larger story. Identity is not just about remembering events. It's also about how you interpret them. Two people can experience the same event and remember it differently because memory is filtered through perspective. Your beliefs, your values, your sense of meaning, all shape how you encode and recall. So your memories are uniquely yours, not just because you were there, but because of how you understood what happened, what you noticed, what mattered to you. This is why asking someone to share their memories is so intimate. You're not just hearing facts, you're hearing how they see the world. As you age, your relationship with memory changes. Older memories, especially from adolescence and early adulthood, often remain vivid. This period is sometimes called the reminiscence bump. It's a time when many significant firsts happen. First love, first job, first time living independently. These experiences are encoded deeply because they were formative. They were building your sense of who you are. And even decades later, they remain accessible, bright, clear. More recent memories from routine days may fade, but those early defining moments tend to stay. This is not a sign of loss. It's a sign of what your brain decided was important. Memory also connects you to others. Shared memories create bonds. When you reminisce with an old friend or a family member, you're not just recalling events. You're reaffirming connection. You're saying, "We were there together." We share this history. Shared memories become part of a collective identity. The story of a friendship, a family, a community. And when you tell these stories together, you're co-constructing the memory. One person remembers one detail, another adds something different. Together, the memory becomes richer, more complete. This collaborative remembering strengthens social bonds. It reminds you that you're part of something larger than yourself. But identity is not static. It evolves. As you have new experiences, as you learn and grow, your understanding of your past can shift. You might look back on an old memory with new insight. Something that seemed small at the time now feels significant. Or something that once felt overwhelming now seems manageable, even meaningful. This is because you're always revising your narrative, always integrating new understanding. Memory is not a static record of the past. It's a living relationship with it. And as you change, the story changes too. Not in a way that makes it false, but in a way that makes it yours. Some people worry that if their memories are imperfect, then their sense of self is unreliable. But that's not quite right. Yes, memories shift. Yes, they're reconstructed each time you recall them. But the core of who you are is not in the perfect accuracy of each detail. It's in the pattern, the through line, the meaning you've made. You are not a collection of isolated facts. You are a story that has continuity, coherence, purpose. And even if some details fade or shift, the essence remains. You remain. So when you reflect on your memories tonight, or any night, know this: they are not just recordings of what happened. They are the architecture of yourself, the quiet structure that holds you together. And they are enough, just as they are. Now let's return to something we touched on earlier, something that happens every night, without your awareness. The relationship between sleep and memory. Because while you rest, your brain is doing some of its most important memory work. Sleep is not a shutdown. It's not emptiness. Sleep is an active, essential process, and memory consolidation is one of its central tasks. During the day, your brain is constantly taking in new information, encoding experiences, forming new connections. But these new memories are fragile. They need time to stabilize, to become part of the long-term landscape. And that's what sleep does. It strengthens the memories that matter and gently releases what doesn't. Sleep has different stages, and each stage plays a different role in memory. During slow-wave sleep, also called deep sleep, your brain replays the experiences of the day. Neurons fire in the same patterns they fired during waking hours. This replay happens in the hippocampus, that seahorse-shaped structure we talked about earlier. And as the patterns replay, the connections strengthen. It's like the brain is practicing, rehearsing what it learned. Over and over, quietly, the same neural pathways are activated, and with each repetition, the memory becomes more stable. This process is especially important for declarative memories. Those are the facts and events you can consciously recall. What you studied, what you experienced, where you went, who you spoke to. Slow-wave sleep helps move these memories from the hippocampus, where they were temporarily held, into the cortex, where they can be stored long-term. This transfer is gradual. It happens over many nights, but each night of deep sleep strengthens the process. REM sleep, the stage where most dreaming happens, plays a different role. REM stands for rapid eye movement. During this stage, your eyes move quickly beneath your closed lids, and your brain is almost as active as when you're awake. But your body is deeply relaxed, almost paralyzed, so you don't act out your dreams. REM sleep is especially important for integrating new memories with old ones, for finding connections, for making sense of what you've learned. During REM sleep, your brain takes the memories from the day and weaves them into the larger network of what you already know. It finds patterns, links ideas, extracts meaning. This is why REM sleep supports creative problem solving. Why you sometimes wake up with a sudden insight about something you were struggling with. Your brain has been working on it, quietly, while you slept. REM sleep is also important for emotional memory. It helps process the emotional content of experiences. During REM, the brain can revisit emotional events, but in a way that feels a little safer, a little more distant. This allows the memory to be integrated without the overwhelming intensity of the original emotion. Over time, REM sleep can help reduce the emotional charge of difficult memories. The memory remains, but it becomes easier to hold. This is one reason why sleep is so restorative. It doesn't erase what happened, but it helps you process it. Even light sleep, the transitional stages between waking and deep sleep, contributes to memory. During these stages, the brain continues to review information. It sorts through what was encoded, deciding what to keep and what to let go. Not everything needs to be remembered, and sleep helps the brain make those decisions. It prioritizes what's important, what's novel, what has emotional significance, and it gently releases the rest. This is why a good night's sleep after learning something new makes such a difference. Students who sleep after studying perform better on tests than those who stay awake. The sleep allowed consolidation to happen. It gave the brain time to strengthen the new knowledge. And it's not just about how much you sleep, it's about the quality. Interrupted sleep, or sleep that doesn't include enough deep or REM stages, doesn't support memory as well. Your brain needs those full cycles, those quiet hours of uninterrupted rest. This is one of the many reasons sleep matters so much. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity for your body, for your mind, for your memories. And here's something beautiful. As you fall asleep tonight, your brain will begin its work. It will replay the experiences of your day, strengthen the connections that matter, integrate what you've learned. It will tend the memory landscape, quietly, gently, while you rest. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to try. Your brain knows what to do. It's been doing this every night of your life, and it will continue, as long as you give it the rest it needs. So let yourself drift now. Let your breathing slow. Let the thoughts that come, and let them go. There's no need to hold on to anything right now. No need to remember. No need to try. We've walked a long way together tonight, through the memory landscape. We've visited the places where your experiences are held. The hippocampus, quietly organizing and encoding. The cortex, vast and interconnected, holding the archive of your life. We've explored how memories form, how they're stored, how they're retrieved. We've seen how emotion strengthens memory. How forgetting is not a failure, but a feature. We've talked about the cues that bring memories back. Smells, sounds, places, feelings. We've acknowledged that memory and identity are woven together. That who you are is shaped by what you remember. And we've honored the role of sleep, that quiet guardian tending your memories through the night. But now it's time to settle, time to let the words fade, time to rest in the landscape we've been walking through, not as visitors, but as part of it, because this landscape is yours. It's always been yours. Think of your memories as stars, some bright and clear, some faint and distant, all of them part of the same sky. the same vast expanse. You don't need to see them all at once. You don't need to name them. They're there, quietly shining, waiting for the moments when you need them. And even the memories you can't reach right now, the ones that have faded or drifted out of view, they're still part of you, still woven into the fabric of who you are. You are not diminished by what you've forgotten. You're made richer by what you've kept. Your brain has carried you this far. It has held your joys, your sorrows, your ordinary days, your extraordinary moments. It has built a world inside you, a world only you can access. And tonight, as you rest, it will continue its work, quietly strengthening, quietly organizing, quietly holding. You don't have to do anything. Just let yourself be held. Let your body sink into rest. Let your mind soften. The memories will take care of themselves. They always have. Think of tonight as just one more night in a lifetime of nights. One more opportunity for your brain to do what it does best. To process, to integrate, to make sense of the day. And when you wake, you may not remember what happened while you slept, but the work will have been done. The memories will be a little stronger, the connections a little clearer, and you'll carry forward into tomorrow with everything you need. So rest now. Rest deeply. Let the memory landscape settle around you. Let it hold you the way it's always held you, gently, patiently, without judgment. Your memories are safe. Your story is safe. And you, in this moment, are safe too. There's nothing you need to remember right now, nothing you need to hold on to. Just let yourself drift. Let the words fade into quiet. Let the quiet become stillness, and let the stillness become sleep. The landscape will still be here. It always is. Every path you've walked, every story you've told, every moment you've lived, all of it held in the vast and gentle network of your brain, all of it part of who you are. So rest. Rest and let the night do its work. Let sleep tend your memories. Let your breathing slow. Let your body soften. And when you're ready, let go. The memory landscape will be here when you return. Patient, quiet, waiting. Good night.